Coming up next on the Jeff Crilley Show, we're going to take a look at pelvic floor therapy with a holistic approach. Her journey just ahead.
Many are predicting that the worst is yet to come, which is unfortunate, said one person here. Until now, they've enjoyed the reputation of being the nation's icebox.
Watched a burglar in his home this morning by webcam.
As a journalist of over 25 years, stories are what make my world turn.
Reporting live from the Dallas newsroom tonight, Jeff Crilley, Fox 4 News.
But in 2008, I took the jump from my familiar life and started a PR firm from my home.
We're talking about anyone with a camcorder like the one I'm using becomes a television network.
We started slowly growing the company, and we now have over 100 clients, and we've branched into the world of live digital broadcasting. I now own 8 different TV studios and have a huge team, and the stories that I now get to share are sometimes the most important of my life. Life has a funny way of coming around full circle. This is the Jeff Crilley Show.
Well, if you've been hearing a lot on the news lately about pelvic floor, it's because Patrick Mahomes' wife fractured her back because of a weak pelvic floor. And I gotta admit, I've heard the expression pelvic floor before, but it didn't really resonate with me. And it is absolutely crucial that you take care of that for both men and women. To talk about that today, Dr. Taylor Reyes, and she has so many different letters after her name that it's a kind of a acronym salad, so you're gonna have to tell us what all these degrees mean. But welcome to the show.
Yeah, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. So I'm Dr. Taylor Reyes. I'm a licensed physical therapist, doctor of physical therapy, and a board-certified functional manual therapist. Our clinic is FIRE Physical Therapy. FIRE stands for Functional, Intentional, Restorative, Empowered. We treat everything with a holistic approach, but we specialize in pelvic floor therapy.
Okay, and how many years of school did it take to get all those degrees?
Sure. So I went to undergrad and then I got my doctorate. So that was about 6 years. And then I did postdoctorate training, which is ongoing. So really until I stopped working.
Oh my goodness. Well, let's go back to the pelvic floor. Now, what is pelvic floor therapy?
So the pelvic floor is a group of muscles and other structures that sit in between like the tailbone, your sit bones, the front of your pelvis, and they aid in support for your organs. They help with urination, defecation, sexual function, childbirth, and just general organ support. So everyone has a pelvic floor, men, women, and kiddos.
And what weakens the pelvic floor?
Yeah, so a lot of times poor breathing strategies, a lot of stress on the pelvic floor. It can be a lot of different issues similar to the same things that might hurt your low back.
Okay, and March is a special month?
March is Endometriosis Awareness Month. So currently, even though it's a little misunderdiagnosed, about 1 in 10 women have endometriosis, and it takes about 10 to 12 years for someone to actually receive a correct diagnosis.
Okay, and we're going to pull up her website because it's a beautifully done website. And I want to talk more about your practice and the kinds of patients that you see, because they really come from all walks of life, don't they?
They do, yes. We see men, women, and kids. We see professional athletes, retired athletes, stay-at-home moms, people with desk jobs, just anybody who's wanting to improve their quality of life, whether they have a specific acute issue or pain, or maybe they just want to improve their athletic performance.
We were talking before the show about one of your favorite stories, and you said it's not really a favorite patient, but just got a group of patients. So talk about why you do what you do.
Yeah, so really what we love is being able to help that person who has spent unfortunately years trying to find the answer to their pain or their dysfunction or whatever is aiding them, and they've been to multiple providers and can't find the answer. And being able to take a deep dive approach with them to figure out what the root cause is for them is what really warms my heart.
Wow. And we found a great article that was written not too long ago. We're going to put it up on the screen. And as we scroll down this, maybe you can explain what we're seeing.
Yeah, so this is actually when I very first started working, it was in my home. And so I'm working with a pregnant athlete here. And this is just what we would have called a labor conditioning appointment. So maybe she didn't have a very specific pain condition, but she just wanted to improve her birth outcomes. And so we know that exercise will improve the maternal and fetal outcomes, and then also just reducing all those aches and pains that you have when you're pregnant.
So like right there, she's squatting. Is that kind of exercising her pelvic floor?
Yeah, so we're getting a really nice deep stretch. So one of the things that we work on is we want to think about the positions you might be in when you're laboring. And say maybe you have some knee pain or hip pain that keeps you from getting into that position. We want to work through that before labor starts.
Yes. And unfortunately, so many times people go on prescription drugs, and they can stay on prescription drugs for a long time.
Yeah.
So when you see them, is your goal to try to get them off the pain pills and stuff?
Sure. So definitely working with pain management. If a doctor has prescribed something, we cannot ask them to get off of that, obviously. So we encourage them to have a conversation with their doctor about alternatives. But we do know that based on the research, movement and very specific exercise is much more effective than prescription drugs when it's done correctly. And so we educate the patient on natural alternatives so that they don't either become addicted or stay addicted.
Yeah, and taking a holistic approach, I imagine that the body is so interconnected that sometimes you could have a problem with your feet that later turns into a problem with your hip because you're adjusting yourself to overcompensate. Talk about how complicated the body is and how you go laser in on this is what the real problem is.
Yes, I'm so glad you said that, because a couple times I've had a situation, for example, somebody that comes into the clinic with tailbone pain, and they've had their tailbone treated multiple times, but it doesn't get better. So we think, okay, when did it start? And in one particular case, it started during a car accident. So this person had whiplash, and she had a concussion. So instead of treating the tailbone directly, we treated the concussion symptoms, and that improved the tailbone, because the nervous system is very integrated into the muscular system. So we could, we could spend an hour on that, drawing the connection out. But again, you have to step back and take a big lens approach to figure out what is the root issue.
And some physicians, I'm not bagging on physicians, but some physicians just don't have the time. They've got a busy waiting room, and so they never get to the root problem. You're kind of a detective, aren't you?
Exactly. We see all of our patients as big puzzles, which I love. And so we get to spend an hour. Every visit is an hour. The evaluation, all the follow-up treatments are an hour. So we are able to cover so much ground.
Outstanding. She's also a very popular guest on podcasts. Let's go ahead and pull up one of the podcasts that she was on. And you really have the heart of a teacher, don't you? You love to educate people.
I love teaching. I love teaching so much. It's so much fun. I'm such a nerd.
And there's so much misinformation out there. I mean, when I watch the news, it seems like every day there's a study that contradicts the study that they told you about yesterday. So demystifying health is a passion for you.
Oh, my word. And especially that one podcast that we just pulled up, we were talking about endometriosis and how it is often misdiagnosed. And, one of the most common surgeries done for endometriosis isn't even the correct surgery. So most physicians will do an ablation surgery when really it needs to be an excision surgery. The same way that you would want to remove the margins of a tumor, you want to remove all the margins of endometriosis, and ablation just doesn't do that, no matter what they say. So finding a true excision specialist can be a little tough, but it's very doable. And I have personal experience. I had surgery myself. And so whether it's with us or another pelvic floor therapist, finding someone to help you get to the right surgeon is incredibly important, because pharmaceuticals aren't going to cure endometriosis. Having a baby won't cure it. Going into menopause won't cure it. Having your uterus removed, having your ovaries removed, it doesn't cure it. So,
wow.
Yeah.
You are certainly passionate. I love it. And I think the acronym FIRE is perfect for you because you have that passion. You're also passionate about giving back. So there's this amazing foundation. I want you to tell us the Guatemala story and how you got attracted to this foundation that we're going to put up on the screen.
Yeah, so my family is from Guatemala, or my mom is. So we go back fairly often. And I got to do an internship in Guatemala in 2014. I think. And when I was there, I got connected with Transiciones in Guatemala, and it is a wheelchair shop and prosthetics clinic for Guatemalans with disabilities. And they also employ a lot of their clients. So it comes full circle. And when I was there, I worked with one of the clients, and my heart was just captured by this little boy. So at that time, I wanted to be able to give back and pour into it. I wasn't sure how. So now that I have my own practice, it's 6 years old. Every first visit that comes through Fire Physical Therapy, 10% of that visit goes towards this prosthetics clinic and wheelchair shop. So each year we've been able to donate what would it pay for at least one prosthetic leg or education or a few wheelchairs. So that's been really special.
That's outstanding. So we're almost out of time. So I want you to look into the camera and talk to the patient out there who has been putting off getting treatment for whatever ails them and why they might want to reach out to you.
Yeah, so if it hasn't gotten better, it's probably not going to get better. And what we like to do is empower people, and therapy shouldn't be a revolving door. We should find a solution and make you your own therapist. So if we're talking about pelvic floor therapy, oftentimes people think that it's normal to leak when you cough, laugh, sneeze, jump, or giggle. It's not. It's not normal no matter what your grandma told you. And then also just things like tummy issues. I mean, we go on and on and on, but it won't take forever to fix it. And you will be doing yourself so much of a service if you can get that taken care of, because the pelvic floor is 1/3 of your core. And if you think the core is important, then you need to be addressing your pelvic floor.
Wow, you are amazing. And I love your spirit. We're going to end with her website, which is firephysicaltherapy.com. The great Dr. Taylor Reyes. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you so much.
You bet.
Yeah.
That's it for now. We'll see you next time.